Just a note for any future endeavours, try to ventilate any top cabinetry and bottom cabinetry as much as possible, because the more humidity you allow, the more the timber is going to be destroyed. So you can see here these are all going to be replaced, and if you can replace them with either vented doors or doors with vents or doors with fans or whatever you can to make sure that you've got airflow through there, then it's one of the best ways of preserving your cabinetry. So this power head is working beautifully. It's agitating the surface, giving water flow and lots of gas exchange. Now I've got the controller there, but maybe next time there's a handyman round with a drill, it'd be worth just whacking a screw in that, just to make sure that that stays in. At the moment it's just double-sided taped on. So we've got one, and now I'm just going to go and install the next one. You really have to watch with all of your lids is, number one, what we do not want is tight-fitting lids. We want the oxygen to be able to get into the fish. We're not trying to create a vacuum. The next thing is you want to watch the way the lids are positioned. So in a perfect world, the lids are positioned completely flat, or if they are going to angle, I need them to angle straight back into the water again. You can't have them crossed over each other. And the worst thing you can ever do is have them up on the side, because if you have them up on the side like that, the condensation can come up and go out. Now if you look down in the back corner of this tank, there is a little bit of evidence of that, and that would by no means be a leak, because it's coming from up here. It's coming from up here. That just means that there's been something on the top and the lid's either not been in properly, and then water goes over the edge. So water can go over the edge if the lids are sitting on the top of the tank. You cannot do that. They've got to be in the top of the tank, and know that you're going to get condensation and the water has to run back into the tank. That's one of the main reasons why people think their tank's leaking if they're not. Now, as far as the lights are concerned on this aquarium, all the corals are showing up very nicely, and I'm going to suggest the fish are going to colour up very nicely under these lights. But what we want to really do is, considering there's nothing photosynthetic in this tank, we really want to minimize the amount of time the light's on. So we don't want super powerful lights, because that can lead to more algae. And we also don't want the light on for excess amounts of time, because reduced light equals reduced algae. So as far as the fish are concerned, because there's a lot of ambient light in this position, the fish do not need the light for any reason at all. But at night time, it's going to make the tank look heaps better. And whenever you're viewing the tank, I would definitely have the light on. So in a perfect world, a tank like this, especially being in a bar area like this, I would have the light off. And in this case, we can just switch the light on and off. So in my perfect world, the light would be off all the time, except if you were down here, and that would mean less algae, and that would mean less cleaning. When you're using these things are God's gift to fish tanks. But make sure that when you finish with it, where possible, you really want to put it above the water level. So in a perfect world, no, that's not really going to work there. Oh, I know what I can do. I'll move this over a bit. And if that belonged there, so the blade's out of the water, it'll last a little bit longer. So that could go there. That could be a nice and neat little spot to keep it. So the lights are on, and we want them on as minimal time as possible. We're going to keep an eye on the temperature, because it's pretty warm. Actually, it's the warmest October day in however long they said today here in Sydney. So it's a very warm day, going to get to like 40 degrees. So we're just going to keep an eye on this temperature. Now the heaters seem okay, but I'm not totally convinced by them because I'm not really familiar with the brand. So we've just got to watch as it gets cooler to make sure those two heaters can keep the temperature at 25 degrees. If they can't, not the end of the world, you can just chuck another one in there. Don't get a super long one because it probably won't fit. So we're just going to watch the temperature. Because we're going into summer, then heaters are probably not going to be a problem. Now, being Australia, it tends to get pretty warm here, and trying to cool this tank would be futile. So we're going to look at things like African cichlids, which are very tolerant to warm water. Now, if you're going to have warm water, the most important consideration is to understand that the warmer the water, the lower the oxygen level goes. So if you have very warm water and you don't have enough oxygen in the tank, you got dead fish on your hands. But if you have very warm water and you have lots of oxygen, then you can actually get away with it a lot of the time, depending on the species, because species like cichlids are very tolerant. Now, over time, we're going to see this rock change colours. The minimal amount of time the light's on will determine how much algae we get. Also, we're definitely going to put some catfish in here, because the catfish will do a wonderful job in helping to keep the tank, the rocks and all that clean. We're also going to make sure we've got plenty of good digging fish to make sure that the gravel stays nice and clean. So then the water's currently going down into the bottom. At the moment, we've just got some filter wool. I really want to put a sheet of poly filter on there before I put fish in, just because I'm worried about residual or possible residual hydrogen sulfide from the canister filter. We have got the canister filter empty, so that should never need cleaning. Now, as far as the water's concerned, the most important thing we put in the water is the water ager. So you only need a very tiny amount of that. That gets rid of the chlorines and chloromones and so forth. We've also added a tiny bit of buffer, just because Sydney tap water tends to have a low KH, so we've just raised that up. Also, any of your cichlids, particularly your lake cichlids, like higher GH and salt in the water, so we've added some of that. And then we've also added a bit of stability. Now, stability is some good bacteria, which is a good thing to add before or after getting fish. So this product here, I believe, lasts longer if you keep it in the fridge. Supposedly you don't have to, but I do believe it would last longer if you do. So that's that. And what that product does is help to bring good bacteria into the aquarium. Because now what we're going to do is just give the aquarium a week. Then after a week, I'll come back and test the water. Now, if the water's all good, that means that we can put some fish in, about a dozen fish, and then wait another couple of weeks before looking at putting some more fish in. If we put the fish in small, they all tend to grow up and get along very well. If we put them in big, then the fights for territoriality tend to be more serious. So that's just something to be aware of. Now, when we do get the fish, we don't want to feed for 2 days anytime we put new fish in. And we just be aware that fish keeping is 50% water quality and it's 50% food quality. So the cleanest food on the market, in my opinion, the cleanest and best quality food is probiotics from New Life Spectrum. So that would be one of my main foods. The best natural color enhancer on the market, which is a holistic style food, is Danichi. And then there are sort of cheating foods. So this food here, it will make the fish abnormally colorful. It does contain various debatable hormones. So if you have a food like this and you feed a little bit once a week, you'll find you make the fish nice and colourful. But I do not recommend making that a major food, because I don't want to see the downside. Now, we also got some auto feeders, and they will quite happily feed these things in case of an extended holiday. Also got a fish net. These Seeker nets are unbelievably good at catching fish, because they're nice and deep, they're nice and strong, and you have a lot of control over them. So it gives us a better chance of catching the fish out. So as far as fish are concerned, fish are 50% water quality, which we can help you manage, and fish are 50% food quality. So half of your decision buying fish, as far as the health is concerned, is what food are you feeding. So I'm very, very strict on what foods I feed. I only want to feed the absolute best quality foods. And then it's really important that every time you put new fish in the tank, we want a sample of water and a video of the tank running, so we can make sure everything's okay before new fish are added, because most of the time issues occur when new fish are added. So you can have water that's questionable and the fish in there sort of just get used to it and don't seem to be a problem. It's when you add new fish to deteriorated water quality that suddenly everyone starts getting sick. Beautiful, so stay tuned till we start adding fish to this. So in the old days, when we used to only be able to access nitrification, which is the breakdown of high-level waste into low-level waste, we used to use things like trickle filters. Also with trickle filters, we want to make sure the air can get into the trickle filter. We don't want it all sealed up. And we used to use these spin arms, and they would spray the water over the bioballs, because we wanted them out of the water and we wanted them aerating. But nowadays we have media with parallel denitrification, such as Marine Pure. So instead of producing nitrate So therefore breaking ammonia into nitrate, therefore something you don't want into something else that you actually don't want. What we do now is use this stuff, and this produces nitrogen gas. So the nitrification takes a few weeks to start, and the denitrification takes a few months to start. So these sorts of fancy spinners, you don't see them anymore, but back in the day they were the thing. So what I'm going to do now is take these balls out, because we've got way too many, or we've got extra, that's for sure. We're going to go and put them in the pond, because we'll get more value out of them in the pond than have extra in this tank. So far everything is going beautifully to plan. Once we've got a few extra colors in there, then I'll be very happy with this tank. I'm almost really happy. The water will clear up soon enough, and we want to try and keep that material nice and clean by replacing it. So now the most important thing is to be patient. What we don't want to do is go setting up a beautiful aquarium like this and go putting too many fish in at once. Let's say a dozen small fish would be a good idea. Then we'd wait a week or two, bring a sample of water, make sure the water quality is good. Then we can put another, say, dozen in. And remember, big ones are disproportionately more waste producing than small ones. So we're much better off putting little ones and letting them grow up together, whereas bigger ones will produce a lot more waste, and them sorting out their hierarchy is a lot more consequential. So we just need to be a little bit patient now and slowly stock the tank up until the fish are using the whole tank and the tank of fish are busy. If we don't put enough fish in this tank, because we're going to put cichlids in, you'll find that they end up becoming too aggressive, and the numbers disperse the aggression and puts the fish at ease, because when the fish feel that there is not enough fish around, it makes them a lot more territorial, and it makes them a lot more stressed because they wonder where everyone is, and it makes them think that there might be danger.